still the most glaring thing for you?
Yeah, I mean it's the turnovers. Offensively, I think when we got here, it's offensive. Can impact your defense. So we're not as good as we need to be defensively, and our offense is playing a part of that. So last night was probably like a pretty obvious example of that.
And this may be the wrong word to use, but it just felt like at the end of the game, guys kind of checked out. The way Minnesota was just running up and down. Is that a fair or unfair word to use for the end of the game?
I mean, I don't think the end of the game was great for us, but it's hard to say when are you referencing, and there's a part. You're down 15 with 2 minutes to go. You're down 19 with 2 minutes to go, or something like that. So it wasn't a good finish. There was some sloppiness late. We got to be better than that. But I think it's everything that happens before then that's probably way more important. But we need to be better finishing too.
Last thing I had was Beal got upgraded to flagrant one. Do you think that was fair?
I haven't even gone back and reviewed it or seen any of the replays. I really have no opinion.
Historically, when you've had teams that have been in a rut, as a coach, do you kind of do anything to change your approach? Do you double down on kind of what's gotten you to this point? How do you sort of handle that?
Yeah, probably more double down. Hopefully there's a consistency to the message. There's a consistency to how we approach each day. There's probably philosophically, coaches, players, people have a different idea of how you should handle adversity, how you should handle struggles. I'm certainly probably in that boat that doubles down and tries to stay steady, tries to stay consistent, and still honest. We gotta all be better. We gotta hold each other accountable. Starting with myself. So, but I'm more of a stay with it, double down, be consistent.
Obviously, the turnovers and the transition defense kind of go hand in hand, but in the half court, you talked about doubling Ant and the rotations out of those and kind of leaving shooters open. Did it feel like there was enough communication there that led to that, or what were you kind of seeing?
I think it's actually, looking at the film, there were probably not enough times when we double teamed him. There was not enough, probably attention. So there were, a couple that probably were glaring and stood out that, as you finish the game, we need to rotate and cover for each other better. So those existed. But it was actually probably more where we needed to be more active with him and then scramble behind it, as you review the film.
One of the lower numbers for you guys this year has been forcing turnovers. How do you build that up and improve on that?
Yeah, I think we've been talking about our activity, our shifts, our hands, things like that. And it's certainly, I think at some point, your activity is going to be reflective in, how many turnovers you're creating. So, those are kind of the words we use. Those are the things we kind of talk about. And, it's really, we need to be better there for sure.
For the top 10 defense that you faced last night in Minnesota, how do you redeem yourself against the Clippers tomorrow night, who are in that same top 10, just without just relying on the three?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm honest, I think, as the afternoon, we'll kind of flip to the Clippers and start thinking more about them. But, I know they've got, big wings, physical, athletic wings. Zubac does a good job protecting the paint. So, even within last night, there were a lot of really good stretches. It's been a recurring theme. We've played good basketball, but can we maintain it? Can we do it for 48 minutes? Whether it be the Clippers tomorrow night or anybody going forward, against good defense, against physical, against activity. But I think we have the team that can do it.
Coach, speaking of good basketball, Gillespie's doing that right now in the G League, and Bol is doing it right now in the NBA. Do you anticipate maybe a youth movement bringing some life and some energy, some fire back to this team?
Well, Bol's been playing a lot, so I think Bol has injected, some, whether it be youth or just something a little bit different, a little bit unique. He's been playing, 20-plus minutes, and I think overall he's been positive. Collins had a couple opportunities, and I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for Bull, and we know Colin's ready when we call on him.
Coach, I forgot to ask you last night about Nick's eye. Is he good for tomorrow?
Yeah, no, I think he's just got stitches and a little bit of swelling, but I think the message, and he did everything today, anticipate he'll be fine going forward.
From your perspective, how you view it?
Oh, it's like scoring at the end of the game when you don't have to. Like, they could have just scored the ball, but we're not about to turn us into a highlight reel. Like, we've already seen enough highlights from them tonight. And I was just making an aggressive play and just letting him know, like, we're not doing that. And he respected it. It wasn't no harm. He knows my intentions are never to hurt him or hurt anybody in that situation. And the team respected it. It was just, that's how it goes. They're going to protect their guy, and that's how it's supposed to go.
The reason I asked is because it looked like you were going to walk away and then stop in front of him. Did they say something to you that made you turn and start going, having words with them or what?
Yes and no. Like, it wasn't too much into that. Like, they were trying to say, oh, you can't do that. I'm like, well, that's fine, but you can't just be thinking that I'm gonna just let that happen either. So we both have every right to feel, both sides have every right to feel and do what they do, for sure.
It felt like they're at the end of the game, and this may be the wrong word, but it felt like guys kind of checked out. The way the game ended up, with them getting transition ops. Is that a fair or unfair word to use?
That's tough. I don't want to use that word per se, but our energy definitely dropped for sure. And it's tough. We're constantly getting your butt kicked, and we're not seeing the light at the tunnel. In that game in particular, that's very tough. So, it's tough. You turn the ball over, and they're getting shots. They're amped. They're riled up. It messes with you a little bit for sure.
Brad, I'm sure this isn't where you guys envisioned yourselves being. I know injuries have been a part of it, but when you kind of look at how you've gotten to this point, how would you sort of explain what hasn't gone right this season?
Honestly, man, I think it's just our defensive identity. I think it's just our will and our 1-2 on that end. Just being better. We just got to give more. I think we just always got to compete a little bit more, give a little bit more, play harder. And that's stuff that we're asking ourselves to play harder. That should be a given. But this league, it's not. There's no nights off, man. Every team is hungry, even if they're young teams. They're young, developing, putting pressure on you. So every night we gotta make sure we're ready to go. But defensively, that's where it's gonna come from. Offensively, you're not gonna make every shot. You know what I'm saying? Everything isn't gonna go your way. You're gonna have some turnovers. That happens, but you can control your efforts on defense, and how we talk and communicate on that end, and just our efforts in general.
Jim, worried about doing those things. If you look at the standings and falling further from the win situation, does it feel like this is a salvageable kind of situation?
Yeah, it always does. And you know me, I'm always gonna fight like that to the end. I'm probably the most naive person in the world, but I'm always confident in our team and what we're able to do, even if it's a flip of a switch sometimes. So I think we definitely have the personnel and the IQ to do it. We just got to do it, man. Just got to be, look ourselves in the mirror and bring more. That's it.
You mentioned communication. That's something the book has hit on several times recently here. What are all the communication issues, and how do you fix those things?
More or less, it's kind of like a schematic thing when we're on the floor. It's just making sure we're all on the same page. Everybody knows the assignments, know who our matchups are, how we're guarding certain guys. And then an accountability piece, just being able to accept accountability, being able to, I have to get into Ant-Man a lot better to start the game and make him uncomfortable a lot more. And, just little details in that nature, just making sure that, we're all pushing towards the same goal, not being afraid of those confrontations that'll help push us to where we need to get to.
Bradley, you talk about identity. You and a number of your teammates have missed a lot of time together on the court this season.
Yeah.
Which is a problem when trying to build continuity. Has that played a factor in your guys' play on the court, not having the same starting lineup and bench rotation out there every night?
That's yes and no. Injuries happen in the league, though. We're not the only team that's bugged with them or that deals with them. Every team deals with injuries, so it's not. We can't just wave that white flag as an excuse for us all the time. We still have a lot of pieces and a lot of guys. We're a similar team, not just a couple guys, So the team is able to go out and get the job done, and it should result in winning, but we're just not collectively clicking.
You
you've been in this situation before years ago in Washington where things were trying to get over this hump and things are just not going the way that you expect or want to. Does it put things in perspective even that you're not in that situation, but here, even with guys that are expected to win?
Yeah, for sure, man. Like everybody says, the grass isn't always greener. And that's kind of like a prime situation. Like, yeah, it's not gonna come and just think that everything is gonna be, set in stone. Like, you got to work at it. You got to. As a great saying, like the grass is green where you water it. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be able to put in the work. Got to be able to go through the adverse times and come out on the other side of it for sure. But you got to be able to have that mental toughness and that that ability to be able to just push through those adverse times, because they happen to everybody. We're not the only team that happens to. Like, it happens across the league. So how are you able to just get out of that funk a little bit? Nobody's going to feel sorry for us. Everybody wants us to lose, So how do we get out of that funk? And we have to do that together. Nobody's going to help us do that.
Brad, when it comes to building blocks defensively, like I know that forcing turnovers is a little bit ahead of where you guys want to be right now with some of the things you want to make up for. But when you look back on like those handful of Washington teams, you guys were really good in that department. What goes into sort of forcing turnovers in a way where you guys can make up for some of your own turnovers?
I mean, our schemes were a little different, and our mindset was different, our personnel was different. So I don't want to compare the situations at all, but just the state of the game and just how it's played. Like, everybody switches now. Like, it's a switch league. It's a very offensive crash-heavy league. So boxing out and like the fundamentals of stuff is like very important. So I mean, it's not any, I wouldn't say anything schematically. It's like just effort, man. Just giving more, caring more down there, because it's tough, man. Especially when you aren't making shots, we aren't playing well, things aren't flowing offensively. It's easy to kind of get into that realm of just allowing your offense to dictate your defense, but we can't do that.